What is going on? It's Alex going back at you with another video, and today we're doing our Miami Dolphins 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We're doing this for all 32 teams in draft order, so hopefully you guys are enjoying. Below my face is my board. It is completely transparent. You are going to disagree with it, but that's okay. I owe you guys transparency, not honesty. I back it up with all 22 clips over on Twitter, so feel free to go check me out over there. And let's get into this. If you guys do want to support the show, go use code HAILMARY when you sign up for UnderDog Fantasy, and you guys get to end up, just put $10 down. They send me 60, but also do it legally, responsibly, and it's a good brand. So I support them. They support me. They've been doing it for a couple of years now. So let's get into this. It's going to be a live mock draft. We are going to be referencing our lads a lot, so it's going to be a lot to deal with. Let's see first how the roll of the dice is. And Malachi, I mean, of course, the 49ers are the number one team to get Malachi Starks, but somehow he ends up not going here, so it's going to be an interesting mock draft. So let's take a quick peek at the depth chart, go over it extremely quickly. I do not have an ad blocker on, nor do I share cookies with this site, so we're going to see some wonky ass ads, and sorry to these companies for wasting ad dollars on us. But looking at how this is going to be constructed, wide receiver is definitely an issue that I think you can get some depth player to, reinforce. Tyreek Hill, future up in the air. Obviously, he's been, up and down overall in terms of the personality concerns and such. Obviously, came into the league as a 5th-round pick because he, I think, beat the shit out of his girlfriend. So, the guy definitely has a track record, to say the least. So, I mean, we do need to have some contingency plans in place. But offensive line-wise, a lot of people continue talking about going after offensive tackle, but I would say, out of realism, it's not one of the positions that should be a priority. Interior offensive line, though, should. And the unfortunate thing is, because your offense is so fast, I don't think Greer is going to value interior offensive line at the rate that it should, hence why I'm emphasizing this before the first pick. Even though it's going to be a massive pressing issue, we're just going to have to see who ends up slipping to us at certain spots. For on the defensive side, defensive interior absolutely is going to be a heavy focus here. I mean, first off, 4 out of the 5 dudes on the depth chart are listed as free agents. Does this change after free agency? Yes, which of course, we're going to bring on Dolphins channel, which whether you guys want that to be Broshmo, of course, Broshmo is always welcome on. If you guys are dying to see someone else, by all means, shout them out on Twitter, tag both of us, and, we'll try to make it work. But, defensive interior 100% is on the charts. And you talk about some edge depth here as well. Chubb, Phillips, not necessarily the most reliable in terms of availability. And then, of course, you guys hit on Chop Robinson. I'm pulling my full goat house right now with the wife pleaser on. But corner as well, underrated position of need. Storm Duck, I mean, first off, badass name. I think he was at, UNC before I think he transferred to Louisville. So it's just I like Storm for a hot minute. I don't know if he's a true corner one, but there's a lot of issues to solve, so we need to solve it with the best value possible. And so let's hop into this at number 13. The thing is, Will Johnson actually would not be a bad corner at all, given the fact that I think he can model his game very similarly off of a great mentor there in Jalen Ramsey. The question is it very realistic that Will Johnson is here at 13? The more I hear it, the more people seem very convinced that he could be. So Kenneth Grant definitely is going to be the next guy I talk about. Will Johnson is going to be a key candidate for this, but a team that has taken defensive interior in the first round, whether that be, I'm forgetting both of their names, but Christian Wilkins is one of them. But regardless, you've taken defensive interior in the first round. Kenneth Grant absolutely could end up being that nose for you. Walter Nolan a little bit closer to the archetype of being able to replace that defensive end, quote unquote, that odd defensive end. So the question is, which one do you want? I do think that Kenneth Grant is picking up insane quantities of hype right now because of the frame, because of also the vision for your team. He's a great locker room presence, crazy athlete. Kind of would be the exact opposite of what you did with Wilkins and getting Dexter Lawrence, right? If you look at the two, kind of similar foundation coming into the NFL for both of these guys in comparison. It's a very interesting idea. And I do think it's going to be a little bit more realistic. Again, interior offensive line, I just cannot see Greer doing that. I just can't. He doesn't focus on it. He should, but we're going to try to get offensive line at 48, at the very minimum 98. We need to be able to get some offensive line help in here. Or, you guys need to spend some money in free agency too. It's getting kind of ridiculous. But I will be going Kenneth Grant. I do think Will Johnson should be the pick, but I do think Kenneth Grant is a more likely selection. But on top of that, you can't really go wrong between the two. Kenneth Grant also going to be a long-term investment. And son of a bitch, I tried one I tried one of these and Tyler Booker went at 47. I'm like, let's see if it happens again, and it did. So we got absolutely screwed in terms of what I was hoping to slide to 47, which in all transparency, in all fairness, I don't think Tyler Booker will be here anyway. So looking at the options available, Donovan Jackson absolutely is the best option here. I just don't want to be that guy who takes him a billion times. Anthony Belton as well. The problem is you see there's a 50 pick gap until our next pick. That's the killer part. And so looking at how we can address this, this is one of the reasons why I would say you don't need to go defensive interior, because right here, technically we could have went after an Omar Norman lot. To be fair, Omar, not a bad pairing with Kenneth Grant, but we also could be looking at the defensive back room. Xavier Watts ended up falling here. And again, I was just talking about the offensive line. I don't want to be that guy who takes offensive tackle, the same ones every single time. So I'm not going to. I'm going to say maybe you guys address some, like at least one of the positions in free agency, which you will. I mean, you will. Like, let's not bullshit around here. You're not going to go into the draft needing multiple guards, especially with the pick set that you have. But I actually really like the idea of Xavier Watts here. Again, taking a quick peek. Poyer, Holland, gone. Talk about Elijah Campbell. But like, you guys need some defensive back help. So we got Kenneth Grant. We're going to go Xavier Watts here. He was the surprise slipper there to 48. Now at 98, I got lucky in the one time I ended up test running this before, and Belton ended up falling to 98. I assume that would not happen. So let's see how we can rebound. I'm looking at Jared Wilson right here on the interior of the offensive line. His high level reps are absolutely ludicrous. So I really like his value here, like really like him. The high level tape is just insane. And then if you add on to that, getting in a Johnny Cornelius or a Logan Brown later on, you end up being able to pivot this and actually end up making a really solid contribution for your roster. So I really like Jared Wilson. Again, you're not going to play him at center. I mean, you do have Aaron Brewer there, but I mean, I'm talking about at one of these guard spots, you can end up putting this kid. And to be fair, Georgia plays their guys at pretty much every position. I think that is a necessity right now. At 114, let's see who fell. We got Jonas Sanker here, which, I mean, I think Jonas Sanker, Xavier Watts are kind of a nasty 1-2 punch, but let's try to see if maybe we can end up sniping some other good value here rather than just going two safeties at this moment. Safety is a pretty undervalued position with Watts, who has like literally he's a interception machine. Makes a little bit more sense. Wide receiver wise, I feel comfortable waiting down the line, maybe getting a Caden Prather, a Ricky White, Ty Felton, Jimmy Horn. Like they're luckily for us, my board for wide receivers and Trev's board are very different. So we end up getting really good value every time. But again, if we want to look at the value in the offensive line, like I really do see us having pick 150, 156, and having some excellent value, right? Like excellent value. So we don't need to focus on that at the moment. Outside of that, again, so we already got the offensive line down. Cornerback would not be a horrible idea here. But again, based on the guys who I'd probably want to target, like Denzel Burke, who has that ceiling, I'm good at 134, 150, 156. What's the pressing issue here? And honestly, safety takes a tank. I actually might go back to back here because I'm just looking at the value. You could go for after a linebacker here. We could go Antoine Powell-Ryland as well based on his fluidity and his like overall polish. I really love that. Femi, I've already taken him quite a few times, and I don't think he actually fits the prototype that you guys go after. So I'm going to actually go after APR here because I just don't think we're going to go after two safeties. APR is where's he at on my board? I love Antoine Powell-Ryland. Number 34 overall on my board. This guy is really damn good. In his worst graded game here versus Miami, which is where I put the most weight is on how players fail, he ended up having a stellar performance. So I'm going to go after Antoine Powell-Ryland here at 114 and give you one of my guys. At 134, we could talk about some quarterback here because, I mean, let's be real. Like getting someone like a Quinn Ewers at this point, not bad to develop, but I do think, again, we could wait and get like a Kyle McCord at 150 or 156. Like, I think that's fair. So looking at the corners that are left, I just don't want to miss out on Denzel Burke. And so I'm trying to see, because Zy Alexander's a good safety, which, to be fair, we can kind of solve two issues in one with Zy. Zy's a very good player, like a very good player. 6'2", 194, but I really love his zone instincts. Like, he is very good. To be honest, it's probably better value than Denzel Burke. So I'd actually use Zy Alexander as a flexible defensive back piece that you're probably going to be putting at safety as well next to Xavier Watts. Like, you're going to have two guys who are really rangy, or else we could do the Denzel Burke down the line. Feel free to let me know which one you guys would prefer. Again, we could go after, I'm not going to do dark because I've done that a billion times. It would be like Ewers at this point. But, I mean, we could also, again, go after Kyle McCord there at 150. That's where my head's at. I'm going to go after Zy Alexander, go best player available, and get ourselves a quality defensive back. Now, we're still stuck with the top two quarterbacks here at 150. Is there, like, again, there's CJ West is here. Ooh, I really like that, because remember, we went after nose tackle. We still need some extra defensive interior help. On the offensive interior, again, 156 kind of is my dream spot for that. The quarterbacks always fall, so 225, we'll get like a Max Brosmer, Tyler Shuck. Like, there's going to be dudes for us to grab. So just keep that in mind as well. Of course, at the same time, could we end up sniping somebody down in the 225 range? Yeah, I mean, there's Tonka Hemingway here, but I think that CJ West legitimately could carve out legitimate snaps. So I feel very comfortable with that. We're going to go CJ West here. I've shown him quite a bit of love in this series, and I do kind of want to take my foot off the gas pedal for the amount of times I'm taking him, which I should. Out of respect for you guys who actually watch every episode, we're gonna be respectful of you guys. Because again, this might be like the fourth time I take him. Could even go Denzel Burke here at this point. Emory Jones is ridiculous value. I guess we could go Emory Jones here. If he does slip, I think that it's like a very pressing issue. We'll go after Emory. I don't think that, I'm trying not to, again, select the same guys every single time, but Emory Jones is incredible value at this point. Again, you now address two offensive line position with some tackle upside. But the quarterbacks, again, continue to fall. Jackson Dart, I've taken him a billion times. Quinn Ewers, absolutely on the radar because the high-level throws are insane. You're not going to be starting him. But Kyle McCord will operate this offense better than those two, in my opinion. Well, better than Quinn. I don't know about Jackson, but Kyle McCord, absolutely, with his ascension this year, it really has been awesome, and I didn't give him the credit he deserves. I'll take that on the chin. But I actually think getting a solid backup quarterback, and McCord's no slouch. He's not like some stone in the pocket. Like, he could end up making some plays, but the amount of times I've taken Tyler Shuck, it's like, again, let's pipe down, right? But at 225, I'm actually going to target like a super weapon here. One of my favorite players, my number 12 receiver in the class, LeJohntay Wester. Like, really good player. Really good. Explosive as well. I mean, got to see him there in Dallas, actually, at the Shrine Bowl. So, big fan of that. Quick review of what we have done so far. We've addressed defensive back twice with Alexander and Watts, offensive line twice with Emory Jones and Jared Wilson, defensive line twice with APR and KG, and then got some depth here with McCord and Wester, honestly, both, who probably will be taking snaps, unfortunately. But at number 232, I'm looking at Dylan Fairchild here, and I have not taken him yet for our team, and it's about time, right? Because now you also pair him up, because he's going to be depth. You're going to pair him up there with Jared Wilson as well, so you have instant chemistry too. And I actually really like where that could end up leading us. So we're going to be taking Dylan Fairchild there at 232, just getting more and more firepower on the offensive line. And at 252, let's take one final look and see. We already got some extra firepower here, but I do want to get more of a reliable contested catch threat. You could talk about maybe some, like another, like a legitimate tight end too, but Jonnu Smith is used so much. It is tough to say that you're going to spend a pick on a tight end based on the usage and the role. But I honestly really like Zachary Franklin here. He has the biggest arms and hands in the class. So you add that in. I know he had some drop issues, but he pops off, man. He's a good player. He's a veteran, but for me, Zachary back at UTSA, also at Ole Miss, like, I honestly think that he's one of the more underrated pieces in this class, and I'd be very happy to have him. But to be fair, Elijah Badger, if you want to take him here, by all means. Elijah Badger is a good wide receiver. For those of y'all who are watching my top 32 receiver video, understand that those are the 32 that have grades. And I put top 32. I know it's a little misleading, but to be fair, legitimate like top 20 to 25 guys, like all of them are probably going to stay the same. So the rest are just going to be like filling in as I do my top 50. But we're going to go Zachary Franklin here because I really do believe in what he could bring to the squad. So we could have drafted Harold Fannin if we're going to be honest, but I just drafted him as well for the Niners. So I'm like, okay, I really do not want to be this guy who continually snipes the players because Trev has him low. But we ended up addressing defensive interior with Kenneth Grant. On top of that, did we address defensive interior again? We did not. So you're going to have to go to free agency for that. Again, honestly, Zachary Franklin, you could have swapped it out for one of the defensive interiors there. But defensive back-wise, we got Xavier Watts and Zy Alexander, who could be flexible into that into the safety role as well. For interior offensive line, we got Jared Wilson on top of that, Emory Jones, who has tackle versatility, and Dylan Fairchild, getting yourself a nice trio there. Edge rusher, we got Antoine Powell-Ryland to reinforce. I think he actually has some very comparable abilities based on the value difference to what Chop Robinson did. So like 4th round value for what Chop Robinson was as a first. And then you got our backup quarterback here, McCord, and then we got some firepower here with LeJonte Wester as well as Zachary Franklin. So my biggest regret, honestly, is probably at 252 not going defensive interior again. But I do think that there's a lot of role-playing defensive interiors that are on the market, and we might be able to get some extra depth there. The big thing was to get a big attribute or big contributor on the interior, and I think that's what we did with Kenneth Grant. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.